Queen Naravel sat on her crystal throne and watched the security footage for the third time. The human moved like no Veltharan warrior she had ever seen. Where her people fought with grace and telepathic coordination, this Teho fought like a storm. Wild, unpredictable, and unstoppable. "Turn it off," she told her aide, a nervous young male named Kilven. I have seen enough, but she had not seen enough. Not really. For weeks now she had been studying everything she could find about human warfare. Their history was full of impossible victories. Small armies beating larger ones, weak nations defeating stronger ones, individuals standing against overwhelming odds and somehow winning. The Veltharan Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, but now they faced a threat that traditional tactics could not stop. The Korthak Dominion was expanding toward Veltharan space, and every battle they fought was a defeat. Her generals insisted on using the old ways, the proper ways, the elegant formations and telepathic strategies that had worked for centuries, but they were not working now. "My queen," Kilvin said carefully, "the Council of Nobles wishes to speak with you about the human incident." Naravel sighed. The council thought she spent too much time thinking about humans and not enough time acting like a proper Veltharan ruler. They wanted her to focus on tradition, on the way things had always been done. "Tell them I will meet with them later," she said. "First, I want you to send a message to the human government. I wish to invite this Teho to visit our homeworld." Kilven's crystal face went pale. "My queen, that is unusual. We do not normally invite humans to the sacred homeworld." "These are not normal times," Naravel replied. "Do it." Meanwhile, on New Prosperity Station, Teho was trying to go back to his normal life. But normal was gone. Everywhere he went, people stared. Human reporters wanted interviews. Alien diplomats asked strange questions about his fighting methods. Even other security guards looked at him differently now. So Jin had offered him a permanent job with her family's shipping company. The pay was excellent, and the work would be easier than military contracting. But something felt wrong about hiding behind corporate walls while the galaxy grew more dangerous. "You should take the job," Jin Woo told him over drinks at the station's security bar. "So Jin is nice, the money is good, and you would be safe." Taiho shook his head. "Safe is not always right. What do you mean?" Before Teho could answer, Ambassador Lee Minho approached their table. The older man looked tired and worried. "Mr. Kang, I need to speak with you privately." They found a quiet corner where Lee explained about the Queen's invitation. "This is bigger than just you," the ambassador said. "The Veltharan Empire has never invited a human to their homeworld. This could open doors that have been closed for generations. Or it could be a trap," Teho replied. "Maybe. But we have to take the chance. Our intelligence reports show something big is happening out there. The Veltharans are scared of something, and scared aliens make dangerous allies." Teho thought about the 3 assassins at the party. They had not been random criminals. Someone with power and resources had sent them. "What about Miss Park?" "She still needs protection. We will assign someone else. This is more important." That night Teho sat in his small apartment looking out at the stars. So Jin came to see him bringing coffee and worried looks. "You are going, are you not?" she asked. "Probably. Why? You do not owe them anything." Teho was quiet for a long moment. "My grandfather fought in the Korean War. He used to tell me stories about being outnumbered, outgunned, facing enemies that seemed impossible to beat. But he never ran away. He said sometimes one person has to stand up even when it seems hopeless. This is different. These are aliens. They are not your people. Maybe not. But someone tried to kill you because you were human. That makes it my fight too." 3 days later, Teho stood on the docking platform watching the Veltharan ship approach. It was beautiful in an alien way. All curves and crystal, like a piece of art that could fly through space. Nothing like the rough, practical human ships he was used to. So Jin came to see him off. "Promise me you will be careful," she said. "Always am. Promise me you will come back." Teho looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. When had she stopped being just another client and become someone he cared about? "I promise I will try." The Veltharan crew that came to get him moved like dancers, all grace and silent communication. Their captain, a tall female with blue markings on her face, looked at Teho like he was a dangerous animal. "You are the human warrior," she said in accented English. "I am a human, yes. Our queen wishes to meet you." This is a great honor. I am sure it is. The ship's interior was unlike anything Taeho had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. The floors felt warm under his feet. Everything was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges or straight lines. They gave him a cabin that was probably meant to be luxurious, but felt like sleeping inside a jewel. The bed was too soft, the lights too bright, the air too sweet. Everything reminded him that he was very far from home. As the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Taeho watched the stars stretch into lines through his window. He thought about his grandfather's stories, about standing up when everything seemed hopeless. He thought about Sojin's worried face and Ambassador Lee's tired eyes. Most of all, he thought about the 3 dead assassins and what they might represent. Someone was afraid of humans, afraid enough to kill. That fear could be a weapon if he learned how to use it. The journey to the Valtheran homeworld would take 6 days. 6 days to prepare for whatever test awaited him in the crystal cities of an alien empire. 6 days to figure out how one human soldier might change the fate of entire civilizations. Outside his window, the stars sang their ancient songs, indifferent to the small dramas of mortal beings. But sometimes, Taeho thought, small dramas had big consequences. The Valtharan homeworld was more beautiful than anything Taeho had imagined. Crystal cities floated in the sky, connected by bridges of light. Waterfalls fell upward, defying gravity through alien technology. The very air seemed to sparkle with energy. Queen Naravel met him in a garden where flowers sang in harmony and trees grew in perfect geometric patterns. She was younger than he had expected, with silver markings on her crystal face that marked her as royalty. Her eyes held intelligence and something else, desperation maybe. "Welcome to Velthera Prime, Taeho of Earth," she said in perfect English. "I hope the journey was comfortable." "It was fine, Your Majesty." Taeho had practiced the proper greeting with Ambassador Lee, but the Queen waved it away. "Please, just call me Naravel. We have important things to discuss and formal titles waste time we do not have." She led him deeper into the garden, away from the servants and guards who watched with suspicious eyes. When they were alone, she stopped beside a fountain that sprayed liquid starlight into the air. "I will be direct with you, Taeho. My empire is dying." Taeho kept his face calm, but inside he was surprised. This was not what he had expected from an alien queen. "How so?" "The Korthak Dominion grows stronger every day. They are a warrior race that believes only the strong deserve to live. My fleets cannot stop them using traditional tactics. We need new ways of fighting, and your people seem to have a gift for the impossible." "You want me to train your soldiers?" "Yes, but my military commanders oppose this idea. They believe it would dishonor our warrior traditions to learn from humans." Naravel's voice held frustration. "They have demanded a trial by combat to prove whether humans deserve respect." Taeho understood now. "And if I lose?" "Then you go home and we all die with our honor intact." Her crystal eyes met his. "If you win, perhaps some of my people will listen to new ideas." The trial would take place in 3 days in the grand arena before the entire court. Taeho's opponent would be Captain Velthorin, the greatest warrior in the Queen's Guard. He had never lost a single combat in 20 years of service. They gave Taeho rooms in the Crystal Palace and access to training facilities. The Velthorin equipment was designed for their physiology. Too light, too balanced, too elegant for human hands. He requested simple weights and a punching bag made of materials that would not break under his fists. General Kethmar, the leader of the traditionalist faction, visited him on the 2nd day. The old warrior looked at Taeho with cold disgust. "You should withdraw from this combat, human. Velthorin will kill you, and it will be quick if you do not resist." "Maybe," Taeho replied, not looking up from his push-ups. "Maybe not. You cannot defeat him. He is faster, stronger, and can read your thoughts. You have no telepathic abilities, no crystal weapons, no formal training in proper combat forms. What do you have?" Taeho finished his set and stood up, sweat dripping from his face. "I have stubbornness." Kethmar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Stubbornness will not save you from Velthorin's blade. We will see." The day of the trial arrived with clear skies and perfect weather. The grand arena was carved from a single massive crystal, with seats for 50,000 spectators rising in perfect tiers around the fighting ground. Every seat was filled. This was the most important combat trial in centuries. Taeho entered through the challenger's gate wearing simple clothes, black pants, a black shirt, and boots. He carried no weapons except a small knife on his belt. The crowd made sounds of amusement. How could this small, primitive creature hope to defeat their greatest champion? Velthorin entered from the opposite gate to thunderous applause. He was magnificent, 3 meters tall with crystal skin that reflected the arena lights like a living rainbow. His weapon was a blade of pure energy that hummed with power. He moved like poetry, each step perfect and controlled. Queen Naravel stood in the royal box, her face showing no emotion, but Tejo could see the tension in her shoulders. This meant everything to her. The combat rules were simple. Fight until one warrior could not continue. No outside help. No mercy. Velthorin saluted with his energy blade, then settled into a fighting stance that had been perfected over generations. Tejo pulled out his knife, a simple steel blade that looked like a toy next to the alien's weapon. "Begin," the arena master called. Velthorin moved faster than human eyes could follow, his blade leaving trails of light in the air. But Tejo was not where the alien expected him to be. He had rolled to the side at the last second, diving toward the arena wall. The crystal warrior followed, confident in his speed and skill. His telepathic senses reached out to read Tejo's intentions, but found only chaos, flashing images of old battles, random song lyrics, memories of his grandmother's cooking, tactical calculations and pure animal fear all mixed together. It was like trying to read a book where all the pages had been scattered and mixed up. Velthorin hesitated for just a moment, confused by the mental noise. That moment was enough. Tejo grabbed a piece of broken crystal from the arena floor and threw it at the alien's face. While Velthorin dodged, Tejo moved again, staying low and using the arena's energy barriers as cover. "Stand and fight," Velthorin called, frustrated by his opponent's refusal to engage in proper combat. "Come and get me," Tejo replied. For 10 minutes, they played a deadly game of cat and mouse. Velthorin had every advantage except one. He had been trained to fight other Velthorins, beings who valued honor and elegance in combat. Tejo had been trained to survive by any means necessary. The human used every dirty trick he knew. He threw sand in the alien's eyes, used the arena lighting to create blind spots, even grabbed Velthorin's weapon hand and bit down hard enough to draw crystal blood. The crowd grew silent as their perfect champion struggled against this crude, brutal fighting style. This was not how combat was supposed to work. Where was the grace? Where was the honor? Finally, Velthorin made a mistake. Angry and frustrated, he overextended on a killing blow meant to end the fight quickly. Tejo was ready. He stepped inside the alien's reach, grabbed the weapon arm, and used Velthorin's own momentum to throw him into the arena wall. The impact cracked the crystal surface. Velthorin's weapon fell from nerveless fingers. He tried to stand, but his legs would not support him. The arena was dead silent. Their greatest champion lay defeated by a primitive human who fought like a wild animal. Tejo picked up his fallen knife and walked over to Velthorin. The alien warrior looked up at him with pain and confusion in his crystal eyes. "Kill me," Velthorin whispered. "I have failed. I have no honor left." Tejo looked down at the defeated champion, then at the thousands of watching aliens, then at Queen Naravel in her royal box. He made his choice. "No," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "You fought well. You lost to a different way of fighting, not to a better warrior." He offered his hand to Velthorin. After a moment's hesitation, the alien took it and let the human help him stand. The crowd erupted in confused noise, some cheering, some angry, all uncertain about what they had just witnessed. In the royal box, Queen Naravel smiled for the first time in months. Her gamble had paid off. The human had not just won the combat, he had shown her people something new. Perhaps there was hope after all. The training hall was a disaster. Lieutenant Yara Shin lay on the floor, her crystal armor cracked and her pride wounded even worse. Sergeant Kovel was trying to untangle himself from a practice net that Tejo had somehow used to trap 3 soldiers at once. The rest of the Queen's Guard stood in shocked silence, staring at the human who had just destroyed their formation in under 2 minutes. Again, Tejo said calmly, offering his hand to help Yarashin up. "But this time stop thinking like Velthorins. What does that mean?" Kovel demanded, finally freeing himself from the net. His usually perfect uniform was dirty and torn. "It means stop fighting pretty. War is not pretty. Survival is not pretty. When someone wants to kill you, you do whatever it takes to stay alive. It had been 2 weeks since the arena combat, and Tejo was learning that winning respect was easier than changing minds. Queen Naravel had ordered her elite forces to train with him, but many still believed human methods were beneath them. Our combat forms have been perfected over 1,000 years, Narration said, accepting his help up. They are beautiful, efficient, honorable, and predictable, Tejo replied. Your enemies know exactly how you will fight because you always fight the same way. In human warfare, the side that can adapt fastest usually wins. He walked to the center of the training hall, where holographic displays showed recent battle footage from the Korthak front. The images were hard to watch, elegant Veltharan ships torn apart by brutal Korthak assault tactics. Look at this, Tejo said, pointing to a scene where 3 Veltharan cruisers tried to maintain formation while under attack. Your ships stayed in perfect formation even as they were being destroyed. Why? Because breaking formation is dishonorable, Kovel answered. A warrior maintains discipline even in death. A dead warrior cannot protect anyone, Tejo shot back. Your formation doctrine assumes your enemies will follow the same rules you do, but the Korthak do not care about your rules. He changed the display to show human naval battles from Earth's history. Look at this engagement from our Second World War. The human fleet was outnumbered 3-1, so they broke apart and attacked from 6 different directions at once. Chaos, confusion, no formation at all. But they won. Captain Velthorin, still recovering from their arena fight but now serving as a liaison, spoke up from where he sat watching. How can chaos defeat order? Because order is predictable. If I know you will always do A when I do B, then I can plan to counter A. But if you might do A, or B, or something completely different, then I cannot plan for everything. Tejo spent the next hour teaching them what humans called battlefield improvisation. Instead of following set moves, they learned to use whatever was available, furniture, lighting, even each other as weapons. Instead of maintaining formation, they learned to scatter and regroup unpredictably. It was painful to watch at first. Centuries of training fought against these new concepts. Narration tried to make her chaos look elegant. Koval kept apologizing when he did something dishonorable. Others simply could not break their mental conditioning. But slowly, some began to understand. A young soldier named Rinval discovered that pretending to retreat could draw enemies into a trap. Another Jaxmore learned that sometimes the best defense was to attack so aggressively that the enemy had no time to think. During breaks in training, Tejo kept in contact with Sojin through quantum communications. The messages took hours to cross the distance between worlds, but hearing her voice kept him anchored to his humanity. I miss you, her latest message said. The war news keeps getting worse. Some people think the aliens might attack Earth next. Tejo recorded his reply in his small quarters while crystal wind chimes sang outside his window. I miss you too. The training is going slowly, but some of them are starting to get it. We might have a chance. What he did not tell her was how isolated he felt. He was the only human on a world of aliens, teaching warriors who barely considered him a sentient being. The constant telepathic chatter around him made him feel like he was deaf in a world of music. Sometimes he caught the Veltharan staring at him like he was a trained animal performing tricks. Only Queen Naravel seemed to truly understand what he was trying to do. She visited the training sessions when she could, asking questions about human military history and tactics. Her curiosity was genuine, not the polite interest of the others. Your species has fought so many wars, she said one day as they watched her soldiers practice. How do you stand it? We do not have a choice, Tejo replied. Humans have always been weak compared to the predators on our world. We learn to survive by being clever, working together, and never giving up. War is just another predator. The Korthak are certainly predators, yes. But they make the same mistake everyone makes with humans. They think because we are small and soft, we must be weak. 3 weeks into training, the first real test came. Intelligence reports showed a Korthak scout fleet probing the outer defenses of the Talmor system. Queen Naravel decided to send a small force trained in human methods to intercept them. Narration commanded the mission, with Kovel as her second. 20 ships and 500 crew members who had spent a month learning to think like humans. Tejo wanted to go with them, but Naravel refused. If they fail, we need you here to train others, she said. If they succeed, it will prove to my people that your methods work. The battle lasted 6 hours. Traditional Vieltheran doctrine would have called for the small fleet to maintain defensive formation and fight a delaying action until reinforcements arrived. Instead, Narration scattered her ships and attacked the Korthak scouts from 12 different directions. The enemy, expecting conventional tactics, found themselves fighting 20 separate engagements instead of one organized battle. Their formation broke apart as they tried to respond to threats from all sides. When Veltheran reinforcements finally arrived, they found the Korthak scouts retreating in confusion. News of the victory spread through the Empire like wildfire. For the first time in months, Veltheran forces had defeated the Korthak in open combat. The impossible had happened. Human methods had worked. But victory came with a price. Conservative nobles demanded that Naravel stop contaminating their warriors with alien ideas. Some called for Taiho to be sent home immediately. Others whispered that the queen was betraying everything their civilization stood for. In the midst of this political storm, worse news arrived. Korthak intelligence had been studying the battle recordings. They were adapting their own tactics to counter human-style fighting. Worse still, intercepted communications revealed that the Korthak High Command now considered humanity a direct threat to their expansion plans. They plan to attack your homeworld after they finish with us, Naravel told Taiho privately. I am sorry. In trying to save my people, I may have doomed yours. Taiho looked out at the crystal cities floating in the alien sky and thought about Earth. About Sojin. About the billions of humans who had no idea what was coming for them. Maybe, he said finally, or maybe we just gave ourselves a fighting chance. The next phase of training would be different. Now they were not just teaching Veltherans to fight like humans. They were preparing for a war that would decide the fate of two civilizations. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Korthak fleet was growing larger and more dangerous with each passing day. The nexus of Velthera was dying. 3 star systems that had shone for billions of years were about to become battlegrounds that would decide the fate of the galaxy. If the Korthak broke through here, nothing could stop them from reaching the Veltheran homeworld. Taiho stood on the bridge of the flagship Crystal Dawn, watching the enemy fleet approach through the tactical display. 200 Korthak warships, each one built for destruction. They moved in perfect formation like a knife aimed at the heart of civilization. Scared? Queen Naravel asked quietly. She had insisted on commanding the defense personally, despite the protests of her advisors. Terrified, Taiho admitted. But that is good. Fear keeps you alive if you use it right. The human-trained forces were outnumbered 3 to 1. Traditional Veltheran doctrine would call this an impossible situation, but they were not fighting traditionally anymore. Captain Narration, now promoted after her victory at Talmor, commanded the first attack wing. Sergeant Kovel led the second. Both had learned to think like humans, chaotic, unpredictable, and absolutely determined to survive. All ships, this is the Queen, Naravel announced over the communication system. Today we do not fight like Veltherans. Today we fight like humans. Remember what Taiho taught us. There is no honor in death if your people do not survive. Make the enemy pay for every meter of space. The Korthak opened fire at maximum range, their energy weapons turning space into a light show of destruction. A traditional Veltheran fleet would have answered with precise, coordinated volleys. Instead, Narashin's wings scattered like leaves in a storm. What are they doing? General Kethmar demanded from his position in the command center. Even now, he could not accept these new tactics. They are being human, Taiho replied, watching 20 ships break apart into individual fighting units. Watch and learn. The Korthak formation began to buckle as they tried to target enemies that refused to stay in predictable patterns. Ship after ship broke away from the main fleet to chase individual Veltheran vessels, only to find themselves isolated and surrounded. One Korthak cruiser found itself facing 3 damaged Veltheran ships that should have retreated. Instead, they rammed it from 3 directions at once, their crews screaming human battle cries as they died. The alien ship cracked like an egg, taking 200 enemy soldiers with it. Madness, Kethmar whispered. Effectiveness, Taiho corrected. Those 3 ships were about to be destroyed anyway. Instead of dying uselessly, they took out a ship 5 times their size. Kovel's wing tried a different approach. They pretended to flee in panic, drawing a quarter of the Korthak fleet into a pursuit. When the enemy ships were strung out and disorganized, hidden Veltheran forces attacked from the asteroid belt, catching them completely off guard. For 2 hours, the battle raged across 3 systems. Ships burned and died on both sides, but the Veltharans were fighting smarter, not just harder. Every loss was calculated, every sacrifice meaningful. Then the real surprise arrived. New contacts jumping in from hyperspace, the sensor operator called out. "Human fleet signatures!" Sojin's voice crackled over the communication system from the human flagship Soul's Fury. "Sorry we are late to the party. Earth decided this was our fight too." Tejo felt his heart leap. 100 human ships dropped out of hyperspace, their angular designs looking crude next to the elegant Veltharan vessels. But they moved with purpose, their crews already adapting to the battle situation. "Miss Park," Tejo said over the communication link, "you were supposed to stay safe on Earth." "Safe is boring," she replied. "Besides, someone had to make sure you kept your promise to come home." The human ships did not have the advanced technology of their allies, but they had something else, crews who had trained for this kind of fighting their entire lives. They dove into the battle like sharks smelling blood, their tactics perfectly suited to the chaos Tejo had taught the Veltharans. The combined fleet began to work as one organism. Human ships provided covering fire, while Veltharan vessels used their superior speed for hit-and-run attacks. Both species fought with the same desperate determination, the same refusal to accept defeat. Captain Velthoran, commanding a wing of mixed human and Veltharan ships, led a desperate assault on the Korthak flagship. His formation should have been suicide, but it succeeded through pure audacity and the enemy's inability to predict such reckless tactics. "The humans are insane," he reported back, his voice filled with admiration rather than criticism. "They attack when they should retreat, defend when they should run, and somehow it works." The turning point came when the Korthak commander tried to restore order to his fleet. He recalled his scattered ships and reformed them into traditional battle lines. It was exactly what the human-trained forces had been waiting for. "All ships, execute Pattern Chaos 7, Queen Naravel ordered. Pattern Chaos 7 was pure human invention, every ship in the fleet attacking from a different direction at the same time, with no coordination except the shared goal of causing maximum confusion. It looked like madness from the outside, but there was method in it. The Korthak formation shattered like crystal hitting stone. Their ships, designed for organized warfare, could not cope with attacks coming from everywhere at once. Crew members panicked as their tactical computers failed to track so many independent threats. In the end, it was not superior technology or numbers that won the battle. It was the human concept that sometimes you had to break all the rules to survive. The Korthak fleet broke and fled, leaving behind 50 destroyed ships and their reputation for invincibility. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors and engineers assessed the damage, Tejo stood with Queen Naravel watching the stars. They had won, but the cost had been high. A third of their fleet was gone, and thousands of brave beings had died to secure this victory. Was it worth it? Naravel asked. Tejo thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who would live another day because of this battle. He thought about the Veltharan worlds that would not burn, the children who would grow up free. "Ask me in 100 years, he said. 3 months later, Tejo stood on the docks of New Prosperity Station, watching the mixed human Veltharan patrol fleets prepare for their next mission. The alliance had grown stronger, built on mutual respect rather than one-sided tolerance. Sojin approached from behind, her footsteps soft on the metal deck. "Ready to go home?" "Which home?" Tejo asked. He had spent so long among the stars that Earth felt distant now, while the crystal cities of Velthara held memories of triumph and friendship. "Wherever you want," she said, taking his hand. "We have time to figure it out." Above them, human and Veltharan ships moved together through space, their crews working as one people united by the shared understanding that survival sometimes required breaking every rule except the most important one. Never give up. The galaxy was safer now, but not because any one species had proven superior to the others. It was safer because different peoples had learned to fight together, bringing their unique strengths to the shared struggle against darkness. And in the depths of space, other threats waited, other challenges that would require new kinds of courage and new ways of thinking. But for the first time in centuries, the civilized galaxy was ready for them. After all, they had learned to fight like humans. Tejo adjusted his black suit jacket and checked his earpiece one more time. The massive space station called New Prosperity floated in the darkness beyond the windows, its lights twinkling like stars. He had been on many protection jobs before, but this one felt different. Tonight he was protecting Park So-jin, the daughter of one of Earth's richest families, at a party with aliens. The Valthorans were tall and graceful, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. They moved like dancers and spoke without opening their mouths, using their minds to talk to each other. Taeho found it creepy, but he kept his face blank. His job was to keep So-jin safe, not to make friends with aliens. So-jin stood near the huge windows wearing a blue dress that cost more than most people made in a year. She was small and pretty, with short black hair and bright eyes. She seemed nervous as she talked to a group of Velthoran nobles. Taeho could not blame her. These aliens thought humans were just smart animals who happened to build spaceships. The shipping routes through the Kepler sector are very important to both our peoples, So-jin was saying in careful, polite words. The aliens nodded, but Taeho could see the cold look in their crystal eyes. They did not care what this human girl thought. One of the aliens, a tall female with silver markings on her face, smiled without warmth. Of course, little human. Your people are so energetic in your business dealings. The other aliens made soft sounds that might have been laughter. Taeho felt his jaw tighten, but he stayed quiet. He had learned long ago that showing anger only made things worse. Instead, he watched the room. His eyes moved from person to person, looking for anything wrong. Years of military training had taught him to see danger before it arrived. The party was held in a giant glass dome at the top of the station. Earth hung in space above them, blue and white and beautiful. Hundreds of guests moved around the room, mostly Velthorans, with a few humans scattered among them like dark spots in a sea of crystal. "Sir," a voice whispered in his earpiece. It was Jin Woo, another security guard watching from the control room. "I see 3 Velthorans moving toward Miss Park. They do not look like party guests." Taeho's hand moved to the gun hidden under his jacket. "How many?" 3 confirmed. "Maybe more. They have the wrong kind of clothes for this party." Taeho looked around the room again. There, 3 Velthorans in dark clothing moving through the crowd. They looked like soldiers trying to blend in, but their movements were too sharp, too focused. They were heading straight for So-jin. "Miss Park," Taeho said quietly, stepping closer to her. "We need to move now." So-jin looked at him with surprise. "What?" "But the party just started now," Taeho said again, his voice firm but calm. He took her arm gently but firmly. "Trust me." The lead attacker was only 10 meters away when he pulled out a weapon that looked like a crystal blade. It glowed with strange light. The alien guests around them screamed and scattered. Taeho pushed So-jin behind a pillar and drew his gun. The weapon felt solid and familiar in his hands. Good old human technology that worked the same way every time. No fancy alien tricks, just metal and explosives. "Stay down," he told So-jin, then stepped out to face the attackers. The first alien moved faster than any human could, but Taeho had fought fast enemies before. Speed meant nothing if you could not think fast enough to use it. He rolled to the side as the crystal blade cut through the air where his head had been, then put 3 bullets in the alien's chest. The second attacker tried to read Taeho's mind to predict his next move. But humans were different from Velthorans. Human thoughts were messy and wild, full of emotions and random ideas. The alien hesitated, confused by the chaos in Taeho's head. That hesitation cost him his life. The third alien was smarter. He grabbed a human guest and held the crystal blade to her throat. "Drop your weapon, animal," he said in perfect English. "Or this one dies." Taeho looked at the alien, then at the scared human woman, then back at the alien. His face showed nothing. "Okay," he said, and started to lower his gun. The alien smiled, thinking he had won. But Taeho was not surrendering, he was aiming. The bullet went through the alien's shoulder, spinning him around and making him drop his hostage. Before the alien could recover, Taeho was on him. They fought hand to hand. The alien was stronger and faster, but Taeho fought dirty. He used his elbows and knees, grabbed furniture to throw, even bit the alien's hand when he got the chance. It was not pretty or graceful like alien fighting styles. It was brutal and ugly and human. In the end, Taeho won because he wanted to live more than the alien wanted to kill. He wrapped his arm around the alien's neck and squeezed until the crystal-skinned warrior went limp. The room was dead quiet. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at the human who had just defeated 3 trained Veltheran fighters, using nothing but primitive weapons and raw determination. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. A few looked interested. So Jin stood up slowly from behind the pillar. Her dress was torn and dirty, but she was alive. "Thank you," she whispered. Taeho checked his gun and put it back in his jacket. "Just doing my job, miss." But as he looked around the room at all those alien faces, he knew this was bigger than just a job now. Word would spread through the Veltheran Empire about the human who fought like a wild animal and won. Some would want to study him. Others would want to kill him. And somewhere in the depths of space, a young alien queen would hear the story and become very interested in meeting this strange human warrior. Station security arrived 10 minutes later to find 3 dead alien assassins and 1 very calm human bodyguard. The party was over, but for Taeho something much bigger was just beginning.